Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us today with one of our newest strategic alliance partners, Intention Collective, in this, our 43rd installment of our EO Exchange series with Zach Montroy. Zach is going to lead us through an interactive exercise for you and your company to provide the plan that can be implemented with your team immediately. Zach has spent 2 decades in executive roles, honing his expertise in organizational strategy, people operations, people leadership, and scaling companies. Over the last 6 years, Zach has focused his efforts on helping entrepreneurs scale and grow their businesses, bringing his knowledge and insights to bear on the stickiest issues facing high-growth companies. With a deep understanding of the importance of both strategy and culture in achieving sustainable growth, Zach helps companies create high-functioning, high-impact organizations through his innovative approach to leadership. I'm going to turn it over to Zach. Remember, put your questions in the chat. And make sure you use your link. If you've not yet printed your very own guide, your roadmap, you can start using it now. So Zach, it's all yours.
Thanks so much, David. It's so great to be with all of you today. As David said, feel free to scan the QR code that's on the screen, and I'll put it down here in the corner as well. Feel free to print that out or use the PDF as we go through this exercise this morning, because I would love for you to complete this for your company as we walk through what I think is one of the most powerful documents for us as leaders as we guide and manage and lead our teams. You probably have heard the quote that Peter Drucker famously said, "Culture eats strategy for breakfast." And really there he was highlighting that a strong culture really has the power to determine success or failure for us as entrepreneurs. And I'm a little bit of a data nerd, and it's what I think is so interesting is when we look at this idea of culture and strategy and execution, we find that businesses lose 20 to 30% of their revenue every year because of inefficiencies, 10 to 20% of what could be profit because of complexity, and 15 to 45% of employee retention to companies with a more engaging culture. And so, when we look at, this idea of strategic planning, this idea of having a strategy, as someone who served in a COO role for about 15 years, I sat through all of those really boring sessions where, we come up with this gigantic binder full of documents and we put it on a shelf and it's really pretty and we never look at it again. And I think the problem for most of us, especially as entrepreneurs, is strategic planning can feel really overcomplicated. It can feel very exclusive, like only 2 people in the organization actually know or were a part of planning this. Everyone doesn't understand their role in it. It can feel very static, right? Like we've done all this planning and then COVID happens and we didn't account for that, so we just throw everything out. Or it's something that we don't iterate on or feels very, very rigid. And so my goal for you today is to walk away with a really simple template for what I think is a killer strategy. So when we look at this idea of strategy, where does it fit for us as entrepreneurs? I think for most of us, we would say vision is really, really important, right? Helping everyone understand their role on the team, helping them understand where we should go. I think vision for who we are and why we exist as an organization is actually more powerful than any strategy. And I'm a strategy guy. We're going to lead through strategy today, but your vision for your company is only as powerful as it is communicated and understood by the people on your team, that they really understand the role that they have in executing that strategy, in executing that vision. And when we think about vision, when we think about execution, we want to create a vision where everyone on our team finds a role within that story. So strategy really is this gap for us, or bridges this gap between vision, who we want to be, that destination of where we want to go, and how do we execute that on a daily basis? How does everyone on our team understand with great clarity their unique genius and how to put that to work for the bigger picture of this destination and strategy that we have as business owners? So if you've downloaded the document, this is what you have in front of you. You've got a roadmap, and I think that this is one of the most powerful documents in the life of an organization, because it really pulls together our ability to execute our vision. It's one doc that I think is simple and really helps our team understand what we should stay focused on. What are the things that are most important? If you've read the book, Four Disciplines of Execution, Chris McChesney talks about the whirlwind, sort of, everything that happens in the life of our organizations, the client issues, the employee issues, and oftentimes that whirlwind is, eating up 150% of our time as business owners, it feels like oftentimes. And having, I think, sort of this North Star for who we are, what we're about, really helps us engineer culture in the right way, helps us stay, focused on what's most important. And as leaders, as owners of companies, helps us really understand what should we bet on. If we're sitting in Vegas together, we only have so many chips on the table, right? We only have so many resources. How are we making healthy, informed bets on what's going to grow and scale our company in a healthy way? So what I want you to do, we're going to go through each of these areas. I'm going to walk through what each of these sections of the roadmap look like, what they mean, and how they can help you as a business owner. So we're going to start in the upper left-hand corner there, where it says we are the only. And what this is it's your onlyness statement. It's the sandbox that you play in as a business. And this was created by Marty Niedermeyer, who wrote Zags. And really, this is, what is our clarity of what we are going to do? We are going to be the only what that blanks. And what this really is how are we unique? How do we stand out and attract customers and clients? How do we attract the right employees to be on our team? And so I'll give you a couple of examples here. And what I want you to do is don't get stuck in the philosophizing, we can't be the only, company in the world that okay, just focus. What can we be the only, in sort of the sphere of what we do? So here's an example. This is a digital marketing agency. We're the only B2B marketing agency that provides a team of experts and proven process for the price of one full-time employee. Here's another one. We're the only motor manufacturer that makes big, loud motorcycles for macho guys. Harley Davidsons, right? Ours at Intention Collective, we're the only collective of skilled coaches who wholeheartedly steps into the whirlwind with entrepreneurial teams to help guide healthy and courageous growth. So I want you to think for a second, what sandbox does your company play in? And can you concisely write what you're the only at? We are the only blank that does what? So I'll give you a second to write that down. Any courageous volunteer want to share? Elizabeth.
Good morning. This is great. So I have written, we are the only app that incentivizes and rewards caregivers for their performance, that uses gamification and industry challenges to create caregiver satisfaction and retention.
Awesome. That's a good one. I love that, Elizabeth. Thank you. Anyone else want to share? Brian Krause.
Yeah. We are the only process company that focuses on adoption and building a process-driven culture. Awesome.
I love it. And one thing I want to encourage as you go through this, be as clear, as simple, as concise as you can. I have to tell myself that I'm not very good at being concise. And this is a good, we're big Brene Brown fans. This is a good shitty first draft, right? You're not going to get this perfect today. We actually go, we encourage you to go over this about once a quarter to continue to iterate and refine it. So you've got your onlyness statement. Now we're going to move down on the roadmap, and we're going to look at the destination. And our destination really is if we sort of think about 5, 7, 10 years from now, where are we going? Where is it that, what's that destination that we're trying to head to? We're not just going to get in the car and drive for 18 hours and hope we end up in a great spot. No, we're going on vacation. We're heading up to Michigan for the summer. We're going to put in the destination, and we're going to chart a course to how we're going to get there. And so here, what we're looking at is where are we going, by when, and why. We worked with the team, 3 CPAs and a geologist. It sounds like the start of a joke. And their original destination was, we want to be a $50 million company in the next 5 years, because we want basically, we want to make a bunch of money when we sell the company. Okay, you have 100 employees who work for you, and there's nothing in it for them. That simply is a destination that's designed for the owners of the company. So is the destination that you have, that you're charting the course for, is it something that people can buy into, that they can give the best 45 hours of their work life to every week? What's that destination? Where are we heading to, and why? So here's a couple of examples. This is actually from Stratasan, who's was a company here in Nashville that Jason more recently had an exit and sold from. So we are going to be the most sought after partner for healthcare growth by 2025, because we empower others to reach their highest potential. This is a company called Rebuilt. We are going to sit at 3,000 kitchen tables, creating 75 value add real estate transactions per month by the end of 2025, because we can solve any real estate problem. Here's ours. We're going to impact 1,000 organizations with a model for healthy, scalable growth by 2030, because we believe that exceptional leaders and healthy teams have the power to change the world. So what's your destination, and what's the why behind it? Where are you going, by when, and why? Any courageous folks want to share their SFD here, their shitty first drafts? Or maybe you have a better than shitty first draft. That's good too.
I have the because, I just don't have the where we're going.
Okay, tell me the because, Elizabeth.
Because we are empowering caregivers, excuse me, to attain their highest potential, because we believe they too deserve the opportunity to attain their highest potential.
Yeah, that's good. And this is something, Elizabeth, I'd encourage you, gather your leadership team. Where are we going? What's that 5, 7, 10-year vision, that sort of North Star of where we're heading? And then you start working backwards from it. That's a really powerful why. And that's a why that you can cast the vision around helping your team give the best hours of their work life to. Absolutely. That's great. And again, here, we've clarified what are we best in the world at? What's sort of our onlyness statement? Where are we going, and why are we going there? I, as an employee on your team, really have starting to get clarity on what is it that we're here to do? Why are we here to do it? What are we trying to accomplish? And I know I'm moving very fast. If we're doing this with a team, we take a day to go through, but giving you the tools, you can kind of take this, continue to refine, and do the homework here. The next is your hedgehog. And here we start really coming into focus on, what we're here to do, what we're best in the world at. And this comes from Jim Collins' book, Good to Great. Chapter 5, he talks about the hedgehog concept and the hedgehog versus the fox. A lot of us have heard that story. The hedgehog is good at one thing, right? Getting away from the fox. The fox is okay, or good at a couple of things. The hedgehog is great at one thing. So here, the hedgehog, what we are here to do, what we're best in the world at, what we're great at, is really the inside of the concentric circle of these 3 questions. What are we deeply passionate about? what can we be best in the world at, and what drives our economic engine. And the economic engine, we're not going to dig too much into that today because it is sort of the left side of our brain, and I'm making you stay on the right side of your brain a little bit more today. But the economic engine question is a really tricky one, because most of us, the first thing that comes to mind is what is our economic engine, not what drives our economic engine. And the difference there is this. What is our economic engine? So you'll see this when we get to Intention Collective's example. For example, our economic engine is retainer-based services. When we are, we have a client that we're working with on a regular basis, that's our economic engine. But what drives that, what the fuel in that tank is number of one-on-one conversations with business owners. So what is it that fuels or drives your economic engine? That's the question there. That requires a lot of analysis to really get good at and start to measure what's that leading indicator or that fuel behind your economic engine. So questions here: what can we be best in the world at? What are we deeply passionate about? What drives our economic engine? So I'll give you a couple examples. This is Stratasan. Again, what can we be best in the world at? Translating data into intelligence. We're deeply passionate about efficiently solving problems. What drives our economic engine? Net retention. This is a company called Exceptional Leaders. What can we be best in the world at? Growing the capacity of leaders. What are we deeply passionate about? Doing deep work with leaders. And what drives our economic engine? The number of referrals. Ours, and again, I told you we have trouble being concise on our team. So I, used as much room as I could in these circles. What can we be best in the world at? Equipping leaders to grow ethical, people-centered companies. What are we deeply passionate about? Guiding entrepreneurs and their teams to break through their growth barriers. What drives our economic engine? Speaking opportunities and conversations with owners. So for you, what can you be best in the world at? What are you deeply passionate about? What drives your economic engine? So let's start on that first question and let's get a couple examples. What can your team, what is your company best in the world at? A couple of examples there. Bill, thank you for raising your hand and volunteering, being voluntold. What's yours? What can you be best in the world at?
In my space, I would say response times on proposals or quotes.
Awesome. It's good. Who's another volunteer? What are you best in the world at? What's your team best in the world at? Debbie, thank you for volunteering. You're like right next to Bill for me. I'm going to get in trouble from Samira for calling people out probably, but that's okay. You're muted, Debbie.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I would say we could be best in the world at creating a timeless aesthetic. We're an interior design firm.
Awesome. I love that. Anyone want to volunteer on that next question? What are we deeply passionate about? What is your company deeply passionate about? Brian, and then Ivan, I'll have you go after Brian.
We're deeply passionate about helping small business owners unchain themselves from their business.
Love it. Love it. Ivan.
We are deeply passionate about making complex technologies simple for customers to use.
Love it. Okay, anyone want to take a stab at what drives your economic engine? So not what is your economic engine, but what drives it? What's the fuel there?
I'll volunteer. On my side, what I found is helping customers when they have problems is where we found our niche. Typically, it's customers that have critical systems that cannot go down. That's where we found having those conversations, showing empathy and helping them navigate those issues.
You're on the right track. Yeah, absolutely. That's good. Thank you, Ivan. That's great. All right, for time's sake, I'm going to move us forward. The next section I love, and this is really the soul side of your business. What are your values? And your values as an organization are the covenant in the chaos. This is how we act no matter what. They're the riverbank that keep the river in check. And what's interesting is almost 100% of every organization I've ever worked in, has had core values. Less than 10% of those organizations have actually operationalized their core values, meaning we have behaviors behind what each core value is, what it means, how we live it out. We hold one another accountable to it. It's a filter through which we make hard decisions. They're not just words or, words on the wall, or we spend a lot of money putting banners on the wall. These are the ways that we act towards one another. And I'm happy to send this after today, but one of the things that we do with teams sometimes is go through the Dare to Lead curriculum. And this is a list of just some common values that we see in organizations. And notice the list is long here, but the space that you have is pretty short. As humans, we can remember 3 things really well. We can remember 4 things, okay. When there's 5 things, we remember 2. So if you've got a list of 5 or more core values, likely no one on your team remembers them. And I would challenge that you probably don't even remember your core values. So core values list of 4 or less, covenant in the chaos, riverbanks that keep the river in check, filter through which we make hard decisions. But we can't leave our core values there. Remember, culture eats strategy for breakfast. So here, what I want you to think about is not just what are our values, so who we say we are, and those aren't aspirational, but then we think about what is our culture? What is the culture? If we had to describe, if you read an amazing Glassdoor review about your company, your team, you read this Glassdoor review and you're like, man, this is exactly what I want people to say about working at my company. What are those? How would they describe that? How would they describe working for you, working in the team, working at the company? What are the descriptors of your culture? And this is the outcome of your values, right? So as you think about your culture, who is it that, or how do you hope people describe working with you? Or if you had a, employee that you wish you could clone, how do you hope that they talk about working for you, working at your company? And then you back into your habits. So your values plus your habits equal your culture. And your organizational habits are what you invest your time, your energy, your resources, your dollars in. We prioritize them, we resource them, we put them on the calendar. These are things that we do to live out our values. Our values plus our habits equal our culture. So here's a couple of examples, right? Values assume positive intent, we'll figure it out. Everyone makes the coffee. Our success is my success. Those values plus the habits of giving a shit, learning from experiments, constant communication, challenging each other, recognizing great work, equal having a collaborative environment, being empowering, having fun, being curious together. Here's another example. The values of grit, responsibility, ownership, authenticity, and discipline, combined with the habits of investing in their physical space, getting 360 reviews on everyone in the company, get backs, monthly social, equal having a culture of growth, a rewarding culture, one that's open and honest and one that's fun. Here are ours. Our values are choosing people first, giving generously, courage over comfort, and believing the best in ourselves and others. The things that we prioritize time, energy, dollars, calendar towards, we invest in the health of our team. We have, every CPA would probably tell us we spend way too much money on coaching and development because we smoke what we sell. We prioritize time with one another. We try first things or try new things. We celebrate the FFT. I won't say that word on here just so that I don't get in trouble, but you can Google it. It's a Brene Brown term. Freaking first time maybe is a better way to say that. And we give dollars and resources away. And that equals the culture for us of an abundance mindset, a celebratory culture, a wholehearted culture, and one where we collectively celebrate results together. So my encouragement to you, narrow down your values to a list of 3 to 4, figure out what those habits are. And it's not, this value plus this habit equals this part of the culture. It's sort of collectively what our values plus collectively these habits collectively equal our culture. So when you're done, you have something that looks like this, from the top up. We haven't gotten to bets yet. I'll give you a little bit of a primer on those. But now you have great clarity about who we are, where we're going, and the culture that we intend to create. And for everyone on your team, what does this do? It provides great clarity. It provides expectation. It provides boundaries of what we're focusing on, what we're not focusing on. If we're saying yes to something, we're always saying no to something else. I love this quote by Herb Kelleher, who's the president of Southwest Airlines. We have a strategic plan. It's called Doing Things. So again, we're not just going to keep, who we are, where we're going, our values on a sheet of paper. What do we do with that? And the bottom part of this, and I'll just kind of give you this as a homework assignment. What's most important is you reverse engineer this, the final destination. Now we start to get into focus. What's most important in the next 3 years? Where do we hope to be? By the end of this year, what are we betting on that's going to put us on the track and trajectory to getting to what that destination is by the time that we've charted that out? What's most important? Where are we hoping to be profit-wise, revenue-wise? As we measure the fuel behind our economic engine, we're going to start to put numbers there. We're going to start to put goals there. We're going to start to make bets on what it is that we are prioritizing as most important. And as you do that, a couple of things. One, we acknowledge uncertainty about the future, right? Everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face, Mike Tyson. We all got punched in the face with COVID, right? Like that was on probably no one's strategic plan. So we acknowledge the uncertainty about the future, but we have confidence in accomplishing the plan. We're going to align time, money, energy, and resources, and we're going to iterate on it. It's not going to be pie in the sky, but we're not playing it safe. You didn't get into business and own your own business to play it safe. So as you look at your, that sort of destination 5-7 years out in the road, we're reverse engineering 3 years. What sort of, as that's coming into focus, what does that look like? A year from now, what are we betting on that's going to significantly get us on track towards that vision? And then that last column is, what is most important this next quarter? And when we look at our quarterly objectives, if you're familiar with EOS, we call these rocks. With quarterly objectives in this next 90-day sprint, what are we saying is most important? How do we measure that? We don't want to get to the end of the quarter and people are like, I didn't know what my objective was. I don't know what my rock was. What are we saying is most important? What are the milestones? What decisions can we make to making sure that we get on track to where it is that we want to be? So again, we're just continuing to reverse engineer the plan to prioritize what's most important right now, to continue growing, scaling the business, but doing that in a purposeful way, and one that prioritizes our team, but also challenges us towards growth, towards executing the right things, towards saying yes to the right things. So again, I think this is one of the most powerful documents that you can have as a business owner to really help everyone on the team understand, okay, if I'm performing well, if I'm using my unique ability, my unique genius, and putting it to work for you as the business owner, I know that what I'm doing is helping significantly put us on track towards accomplishing that vision. And that's where we get traction. That's sort of where we pour jet fuel on the vision, the strategy, because every person on the team is executing with great clarity. This is, the roadmap is one of 5 tools that we would say are really that are going to help you align from a healthy, confident execution perspective. I will, there's a QR code on your screen, but I'll also put the link in the chat as well. That's a free doc. You're not signing up for anything. We're not going to spam you with anything. It literally is a link to a Google Drive PDF. So feel free to download that. I think it's a really helpful tool. And I also, I'll put this link in here as well. Very much a no obligation. If you want to go through your roadmap together, I'm happy to give you some feedback on that. You're not signing up to get spammed. You're not signing up for a weird used car sales pitch. But I put that link in the chat as well. So I will stop there because I think I'm at time and hand it back over to David, because I think we're going to do a little bit of a Q&A before we do breakout rooms.
All right, I'm checking the chat. Guys, I think this lends itself well to talking about our own individual companies. I think Zach did such a good job of kind of outlining the overall structure of what he does, that it didn't generate questions because he really covered everything. So I'm thinking we go straight to breakouts and
hey, David, Samira had one question. I
Okay.
just saw that came up in the chat. R stands for revenue. So what's the revenue goal at 3 years, 1 year, and for the quarter? So we get really clear on revenue goal. P is profit and E is economic engine. So if your economic engine is number of referrals, for example, what's the goal? Where should that number be by the end of that period? So you're getting really clear on the exact key performance indicator behind, or the number behind, your economic engine.
Got it.
And Zach, the first portion was 3-year direction, then 1-year focus, and then what was the third one?
The third one is your quarterly objectives. So yeah, that's what's most important this coming quarter. And I just realized I don't have text there, so thanks. I'll make that change next time I do this. So 3 year, 1 year, this next quarter.
This was so great. I can't imagine anybody who wouldn't enjoy going through this.
Yeah, it's so fun to have that clarity. I think I realize that's a nerd talking, but I also think for your team, it's really, really important and helpful.
So Zach, I've got a question.
Yes,
I
sir.
assume if we bring you into our forums, one thing you would do is go through our roadmaps. What are some other things you guys do when you're invited into forums to do a presentation?
Yeah, thanks for asking. So we go through this, so we can go through roadmap and give you some feedback and work through those questions at more of a deeper level. Secondly, we talk about the title is how to hold your team accountable without being an asshole. So how do we drive accountability without feeling like we're constantly being a jerk to our team? And the third topic that we talk about is so this is based on research. The 2 traits of exceptional leaders. So how do we embody the traits of exceptional leaders? Because what we have found is that exceptional leadership is ultimately what grows healthy companies, what scales healthy companies. So as leaders, what should we be working on to sort of up our leadership game that's going to translate into healthier teams and healthy growth as a company?
I like it.
Thanks for that little pitch there, David. I appreciate it.
Hey, Zach.
Yes, sir.
Quick question. And this is kind of related to question number 2 that you have here. But I'm wondering, because I'm kind of challenged with how to communicate each person's role or how they contribute to the overall vision or objective of the company, of our company.
Yeah.
Can you give us an example or kind of some leading example of how successful companies are doing that? I know you want us to share, but I just wanted to hear from you what is effective, or
Yeah, so just to make sure I have the question right, Bill, how do we take what we just did and really personalize it for every person on the team to understand what their with clarity, what their contribution is towards that?
Yep.
Yes, I love that question. So ultimately, I think every person on your team needs to have we call it a personal roadmap. And if you shoot me an email, Bill, I'm happy to send you that template as well. But as you roll this out with your team, we start obviously with what the company's roadmap is, but ultimately, as you roll this out to the team, you help each person understand what are you best in the world at? What is it that is your unique genius? So we use tools like Patrick Lencioni's Working Genius or the Kolbe assessment to really help people understand, what is it that my best and highest contribution is? What are you most passionate about? And then we look at, for every role on your team, you should have sort of 5 bullet points and a mission statement. And that's in the org chart tool. So if you download this tool, you're gonna see the template there, and you can sort of work through those questions. But every person on your team should have a mission of their role, 1 sentence. What's a home run for you in the position that you're in the company? And what are your 5 core or 5 key responsibilities? Bullet pointed, like a couple of words. And then what KPI, what key performance indicator are you responsible for, that you have the autonomy, the accountability, and the authority to be responsible for? So if you're responsible for a number of referrals, I'm giving you the autonomy, I'm giving you the resources, the accountability to drive that number. So every person should have mission, core responsibilities, and the KPI they're responsible for in a simple, concise way that they know they can remember, and that's always kept in front of them, and that we drive one-on-one conversations, accountability reviews from. That was a long answer, Bill. So hopefully
good. Thank you.
Zach, Amy wanted you to list some of the books that you've been referencing.
Yeah, absolutely. Dare to Lead, I would say, is an amazing book about leadership. There's another book called The Only Leaders Worth Following, that talks about exceptional leadership. The 4 Disciplines of Execution is a great book by Chris McChesney. And the other one that I would recommend is Beyond Entrepreneurship 2.0. It's Jim Collins, one of his first books, actually, that he rewrote and added to in 2021. But gives just some amazing tips for entrepreneurs. I could go on and on, but I'll stop with those 4.
Very good. Any more questions before we head into breakouts? All right. Before we go into breakouts, each group needs to assign a moderator for your breakout, and then we'll briefly come back and close out. But the questions we want you to ask: what's most important right now in the life of your company's top 1 or 2 priorities? What's the timeline you want to accomplish them, and why those priorities matter? And then the second question is, how have you, with abundant clarity, helped each person on your team understand the contribution they make in accomplishing those priorities? So 2 questions, and pick a moderator.